in the world headquarters.
Boom!
Caitlin Clark logo all
No, I'm
over
gonna
the
get
place. Now what I want to show you here is Asia Wilson's commercial, and I'm going to play Caitlin Clark's commercial right after that, just to show you the difference between the two. Let's take a look.
Asia Wilson's on top.
In the high-stakes arena of global marketing, where narrative is currency and cultural resonance is the ultimate prize, few moments are as revealing as a side-by-side comparison. On December 25, 2024, Nike, the titan of athletic branding, unveiled two commercials featuring two of the WNBA's most transcendent stars, Caitlin Clark and Aja Wilson. Viewed independently, each spot celebrates athletic excellence. Viewed together, they form a startling diptych, a masterclass in corporate prioritization that lays bare the calculated, often brutal machinery of modern celebrity endorsement. One is a sprawling, star-studded, conceptually intricate production that evokes the brand's most legendary campaigns. The other is a simple, almost rudimentary piece of content. The difference is not merely one of style or budget. It is a declaration of perceived value, a signal of who a corporation believes can carry its legacy into the future. This isn't just about advertising. It's a window into the evolving and often contentious landscape of women's sports, where on-court merit must duel with marketability, and where creative investment becomes the clearest metric of corporate faith. The From Anywhere campaign for Caitlin Clark is not merely a commercial, it is an ecosystem of narrative. It opens intimately in a suburban driveway, a sacred space in basketball mythology, the proving ground where legends are first forged. This is no generic court. It is her conceptual origin story, the concrete where a generational shooter was born. Immediately, the production establishes scale and surprise. The quiet neighborhood is infiltrated by Nike vans, lighting rigs, and film crews, a humorous nod to the surreal disruption of stardom. Neighbors peek through blinds, their mundane reality colliding with a meticulously orchestrated cultural moment. Then the cameos arrive, not as random celebrities but as chapters in Clark's own burgeoning legend. Travis and Jason Kelce, icons of football and podcasting, represent her crossover appeal into the broader sports entertainment universe. Michael Chi of Saturday Night Live anchors her in pop culture, a nod to her own guest appearance on the show. Her coaches, Lisa Bluter and Stephanie White, provide the bedrock of authenticity and athletic lineage. Even the Easter eggs are deliberate. The boys' basketball team wears jerseys for the Attack, Clark's AAU team, a detail for the devoted fans. The creative concept is interactive, built on a challenge. Can you make it from here? That is both literal, her deep three-point range, and metaphorical, her journey from Iowa to national icon. The tagline, From Anywhere, is succinct, repeatable, and tailor-made for social media replication, sparking the TikTok trends that followed. Most crucially, Nike framed this release with the weight of history. December 25, 2024, marked exactly 40 years to the day since the 1985 Christmas debut of Michael Jordan's first iconic Air Jordan commercial. The parallel is a cannon shot across the bow of the industry. Nike doesn't do coincidences with dates. By placing Clark on the same temporal pedestal, they are not just comparing, they are anointing, drawing a direct lineage from the athlete who revolutionized sports business to the one they believe can redefine it for a new generation. The production required a military-like coordination, location permits, celebrity schedules, conceptual scripting, and a multi-layered shoot that blends comedy, sports, and personal biography. This is the Michael Jordan treatment, a campaign built not for a season, but for a career. Aja Wilson's commercial stands in stark, almost jarring contrast. It features the two-time MVP, reigning champion, and undeniable on-court force performing basketball actions with her characteristic power and grace. The soundtrack, however, is a modified version of the nursery rhyme Patty Cake. The familiar childish melody is re-lyric to her name, Aja Wilson, over clips of her dominating play. The creative approach is fundamentally derivative. It borrows pre-existing cultural familiarity and attempts to superimpose an athlete's identity onto it. There is no narrative arc, no hidden details, no guest stars from her personal or professional orbit. There is no discernible tagline or campaign concept beyond, "Aja Wilson is here." It is, as the critic noted, the kind of work that suggests a rushed timeline and a minimalist creative brief. Create an asset that features the athlete and deploys a recognizable hook. For a player of Wilson's stature, a Finals MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, and the cornerstone of a dynasty in Las Vegas, the commercial feels curiously small, more like a placeholder than a proclamation. It checks the box of having a commercial without aspiring to create a cultural moment. The disparity in creative ambition between this and Clark's spot is so vast it feels intentional, a visual representation of internal resource allocation. Why does this chasm exist? The answer lies at the intersection of perceived market potential, timing, and corporate strategy. One, the catalyst of phenomenon. Caitlin Clark entered the professional ranks not just as a top draft pick, but as a bona fide cultural phenomenon. Her final collegiate seasons shattered viewership records. Her playing style, logo-deep three-pointers and audacious passing, is inherently highlight-friendly and transcends traditional basketball fandom. She represents a perceived white space opportunity for Nike, a charismatic, record-breaking, off-court savvy athlete whose fanbase is considered more scalable, tapping into both die-hard sports audiences and a more casual, mainstream demographic. Nike's investment in the From Anywhere campaign is a forward-looking bet on her ability to drive a signature product line for years, akin to LeBron James or Kevin Durant. 2. The established queen. Aja Wilson, by contrast, is the established monarch of the league. Her dominance is unquestioned, her resume impeccable. However, from a cynical marketing perspective, her stardom is viewed as more traditional within the WNBA ecosystem, incredibly respected, but perhaps perceived as having already captured its core demographic. The commercial for Wilson feels like an obligation fulfilled, a nod to her greatness for the existing basketball audience, without the aggressive push to convert new, casual fans. It's worth noting Wilson has been publicly vocal about frustrations with the rollout timeline of her own signature shoe, adding a layer of tension. The patty cake ad can be interpreted as a reactive, almost appeasing gesture, rather than a centerpiece of a grand strategy. 3. The Jordan shadow and the product gap. The intentional 40-year Jordan parallel is Nike's most powerful statement. It shouts that Clark is being positioned as a business cornerstone, not just a basketball endorser. Yet, this unveils a critical flaw. The Air Jordan 1 launched with Jordan's fame. Clark's signature shoe, however, was not available at the campaign's debut. A 4 to 5 month lag between the cinematic demand creation of Christmas and the product's spring release represents a significant loss of immediate revenue and momentum. It suggests either production hurdles or a strategic decision to align the shoe with the WNBA season start, but it undeniably leaves money on the table. 4. The language of production value. The logistics themselves tell a story. Clark's commercial involved shutting down a neighborhood, coordinating with multiple A-list talents across sports and entertainment, and building a custom set, the driveway. Wilson's appears to be shot in a more controlled, likely studio-based environment, requiring a fraction of the coordination and budget. In corporate terms, one is a CapEx project, major capital expenditure for future growth. The other is an OpEx line item, operational expense to maintain a relationship. This dichotomy extends far beyond two athletes, speaking to the central tension in women's professional sports. The optics of inequity. Nike, a brand that champions equality in its messaging, now faces a stark optics problem. How can it claim to be all in on growing the entire WNBA when its creative resources are so demonstrably lopsided? The message to other players is unambiguous. Your trophies and MVP awards guarantee respect, but they may not guarantee the corporate machinery required for mainstream superstardom. This could foster resentment within the league and force agents to negotiate not just for money, but for guaranteed marketing commitment tiers. The marketability versus meritocracy debate. The situation forces an uncomfortable public debate. Is it fair for a corporation to invest exponentially more in a rookie than in a multi-decorated champion? From a pure business standpoint, the answer is yes. Companies chase growth. From a standpoint of sports integrity and respect for achievement, it feels discordant. Wilson, dominance on the court is absolute. Clark's potential in the marketplace is considered limitless. Nike has chosen to bet on potential. The ripple effect on the WNBA. This moment could be a net positive if Clark's campaign successfully pulls a new, massive audience to the league, benefiting all through rising tides. However, it risks creating a haves and have-nots dynamic even among its elite stars, where external marketability begins to outweigh internal accolades in the cultural conversation. It also places immense pressure on Clark to not only perform, but to validate Nike's historic bet with sustained commercial success. In the end, Nike's Christmas 2024 drop was a lesson in modern brand storytelling. For Caitlin Clark, they sold a mythos, the girl in the driveway, the challenger of limits, the heir to an air-walking throne. For A'ja Wilson, they sold a recognition, a celebration of excellence for those already in the know. One is an expansive novel with a planned sequel, the other is a respectful plaque. The From Anywhere campaign is a masterpiece of integrated marketing, a declaration of war for market share in the next era of sports fandom. The patty cake spot is a competent, if uninspired, tribute. The brutal, unspoken truth is that in today's attention economy, narrative scale is the ultimate indicator of corporate belief. Nike believes Caitlin Clark's story is one they can sell to the world. They believe A'ja Wilson's story, for all its glory, is one they are currently selling to the basketball world. The difference between those two beliefs is measured in millions of production dollars, the weight of historical dates, and the silence that follows a nursery rhyme when a cinematic anthem is playing next door. Whether this strategy is ethically fair is a matter for passionate debate. Whether it is commercially astute will be determined by shoe sales, social metrics, and the enduring power of the stories told. But one thing is indisputable. By placing these two visions side by side, Nike didn't just release commercials. They authored the opening chapter of the WNBA's most complex, controversial, and consequential era yet. An era where the battle is no longer just for championships, but for the very soul of its stardom.